I didn't have a choice. He had told me that they had notified the Garda station and the passport office not to give me a passport. So I believed what I was told. I was naive, I was young. So I believed, therefore, right, I can't get a passport, I'm not able to leave. I wanted an abortion. It was the right choice for me at the time. Being in the care of the social workers, I let them know my situation. It was just in like a health services building. You're brought into a room. It's as if like a prison questioning room where they bring you when you're in care and you sit with the social worker. It was just myself and himself. Straight away, he got aggressive and rude when I was distraught, saying I wanted an abortion. He talked down to me and just basically told me that I had absolutely no choice. I was carrying the baby. And I was totally against abortion, but I didn't have a choice. He had told me that they had notified the Garda station and the passport office not to give me a passport. So I believed what I was told. I was naive, I was young. So I believed, therefore, right, I can't get a passport, I'm not able to leave.
I remember when my childhood, I was very naive. Up until I was a teenager, I was still playing my Barbies, and one summer before third year, that's when I got myself a boyfriend and started hanging around with the bad boys. And I'll never forget, I went into school in the start of third year, and on my way into the school gates, a gang of girls started screaming at me that I was a Barbie and threw me up against the school gates and put the fear of life in me. So I left the school and my mum couldn't get me to go back. That was it. I would walk to the school gates and I would get lesser and lesser every day trying to get myself to school. I tried to do my junior cert, but I just couldn't walk into school ever again since then. When you start going back to school and you've got a bit of lip gloss on in third year, all of a sudden girls have cattiness and hormones, and I suppose the fact that I was hanging around with a load of boys caused me a lot of trouble with these girls. When you're a young impressionable teenager and you're not from a certain area and you have a gang of girls coming at you, it's very intimidating. It breaks my heart looking at kids being bullied, because you could be bullied over your shoes, the bobbin in your hair, the lifestyle, the family you have. It doesn't matter what it is, but it seriously affects a child's head. I still remember the hurt that I felt as a child, and I absolutely hate bullies. I was an alien. I wasn't from Drogheda. I didn't have the Drogheda language. I wasn't from here. I was on my own. I had no family, just my mother and my sisters. So that was enough for me to not feel comfortable and not have family around. But to be trying to fit in school and belong and to be pushed the way I was, it was breaking point for me then. I didn't want to be around anymore.
Things only changed really when I separated and we moved away from the family home. That was very difficult. It was difficult for everybody. I had 3 children. So that would have had a big effect on Amy. She was only 13. So she went from a stable, happy environment where she never had to worry about anything. There was no money worries. There was no worries about really anything, to all of a sudden she was dumped into an adult world where we were constantly moving and the stability was gone out of her life, so she rebelled.
After I got bullied in school, I became very mischievous.
I got myself a boyfriend at a very young age of 14.
It was a whirlwind for my mum. I used to sneak out in the middle of the night when my mum went to bed. This would have been the spot that we all came to hang out, and I'd come home at all hours of the morning and not be allowed back in. I'd be grounded then for weeks, and I just always used to sneak back out again. There was no holding me down. It's a complete sense of freedom. There would be no adults around here. Whether we were drinking Coca-Cola or vodka and Coke, this is where we just came. Just chill here and look out over the town.
My mum was lonely, obviously, after losing a lovely house and her partner. And I suppose moving to a town where you don't know anybody is petrifying, especially for an adult with children. So she was lonely, and she kind of took to the bottle a bit more, and I took to the street a bit more. I'd stay in my boyfriend's and I wouldn't come home, but I wouldn't tell my mum. Things just completely changed for me then with the new boyfriend. I didn't get along with a lot of people. I'd left school. I wasn't getting along with my mum. I kind of depended more on my boyfriend than you would usually at that age. I kind of just loved the security of the bad boy. The protection. He was really bad. He'd kill everyone. And I suppose I found that attractive at a young age, and I had somebody that was watching over my shoulder and looking out for me, even if it was for bad sometimes. I knew that they were there to mind me. My mum actually went to get treatment to get herself better, and with my father not being in the country and me being a minor, I had no choice but to be put into some kind of foster care.
When you say there was issues between us, there was disciplinary issues, but I still idolised my child, and she was still my baby. I saw it as her being in a foster care with a stable family in a stable home. She'd be home by 8 o'clock at night. She'd be going to school. That's why I put her in foster care, because I wasn't doing a good enough job. For some reason, there was nothing I could do to take control again.
And is that what happened when she went into foster?
No, they let her do what she liked.
I was joking with my boyfriend, saying I wanted a baby messing. And with his hard boy attitude, when he agreed to it, this is ridiculous of a young girl. But I kind of was wooed when he was like, yeah. And then I actually found out I was pregnant a month later. It happened naturally without trying too hard. I wasn't protecting myself, and I was very young and silly to do that, but that's what I wanted at that time, was my own baby and my own life, and to get my own home. But it was a complete shock when I did find out I was pregnant. It was a shock for everyone. It was very emotional. But very quickly afterwards, I was really excited. And everyone got really excited and decided to embrace it. I was very young, I was 16, but we embraced it because it was happening, and I suppose a little part of us, in the immature sense, was excited that we were having a little baby. We started planning straight away. I was looking at buggies. I love shopping for anything, so that was something to focus on. So I was looking at baby stuff, and my birthday was coming up, and it would have been the 4-month scan. I was excited to find out the sex of the baby that day. We went down to the hospital. There was gifts for the baby already bought and baskets. Everyone was excited for a baby to come along. There was no grandchildren either side, so it was an exciting time. I remember sitting in a room, and it was a nurse doing the scan, and she got confused. She said there was something wrong with the head. And I didn't understand, but she went out and got another doctor. By that stage, I was already panicking. The doctor came in and he tried to explain to me that my child had a head deformity. It's a very blurry moment from the nurse being in the room and going and getting the doctor. He tried to sit us down and talk to us, but I actually left mid-conversation with panic. I freaked out and I ran out of hospital without all of the information. I think I needed to go and get it to my mother straight away. I needed somebody else who could understand and comprehend what was going on. All I had was my boyfriend there who, you know, it was inside me. I was more freaking out than him. I literally just left the hospital mid-conversation and ran out the door looking for a taxi. Everyone thought I was being dramatic, because I have been known to be just slightly dramatic sometimes. So nobody understood what I was saying, and everyone was just telling me to calm down. Everything was going to be okay. They were going to go to the hospital and confirm and check that everything wasn't so bad. It came out that she did have a very serious birth defect of anencephaly. Nobody knew what to do. We were all just trying to figure out, where do you go from here? Like, what do you do when you find out? So it's not a condition that you have ever heard of. It was very rare, so none of us understood what it was. I ended up sitting on the computer for the whole day, Googling what anencephaly was. It was just polluting my brain with all the images I was seeing on the internet. The pictures of the children, they were very disturbing.
When they Googled it and they showed me the pictures, it was shocking, and I was broken-hearted for her, because I'd had a miscarriage before. So I know what it's like to be pregnant and to not have a baby at the end of it. And that's the way I saw her for them. I was like, because she was only a kid.
Families had gone through these situations and their babies never survived. There was a 100% chance your baby did not survive. They might take a breath of air and that's it, then they're dead. At that moment that day, I remember looking at my belly and feeling like that she had no chance. I was trying to decide, did I want to go full term to bury my child or just get the situation gone? Then I'd Google abortions, and then I was grossed out by what happened in an abortion. I didn't know what to do. And I was totally against abortion. It was disgusting and selfish, and the amount of people that want children and it's not fair and use protection or don't get pregnant, and you know, all these silly things that we all say that when you've never been in that situation, it sounds very easy to do. But until you walk in the shoes of somebody who's going through them issues, you can't really judge or think of what's going to go into your head and feelings and thoughts. So I absolutely hate the thought of abortion. It was murder. But when the time came, I needed to make that decision that I wanted an abortion. It was the right choice for me at the time. The social worker, he had said that he had talked to the guards in the Garda station and notified them that I wasn't allowed to leave the country and that the passport office had been made aware.
This particular social worker asked me to come up to have a meeting with him in his office. He told me the police had been informed, and then the warning bells went off everywhere, and I thought, I have to get out of here now, because I was afraid of what I would say. So I excused myself and I left. And then it was actually another social worker told me off the record, you need to get a solicitor.
It wasn't a case I could wait around because I was pregnant. Every day the baby was growing.
Senior counsel Gerard Hogan, who was acting for Miss D, told the High Court it was of great importance to hear this case as speedily as possible. Lawyers for the HSE and the state agreed.
I didn't even know what a High Court was, so it went from me talking to a solicitor to being all over the front pages from that day.
Studies and whatever, that abortion in a situation like this carries quite a high risk of negative psychological consequences.
At the very heart is a distressing case, the 17-year-old girl.
A young woman, one of our most vulnerable citizens, has been traumatised quite unnecessarily and very brutally, and our politicians have been distinguished.
Being a child, which is why I was when I went into the High Court, all I remember is wigs. I didn't know what anyone was. There was gowns and wigs and hundreds of people. The solicitor would relay stuff back to me every day, but I actually got my knowledge from the news. They spoke more English than what was going on in the courtroom. The language in a courtroom, especially in the High Court, is not of the average normal person to understand, so it was a bit hazy for me on the first day. There'd be arguments with my partner every day about going to court. We were teenagers who wanted to go and sit in a courtroom all day long. But I did, because I want to know everything that's going on and I want to know what's happening to my body. But his attitude was, we'll find out later on the news.
Lawyers for the girl say the HSE has misconstrued the law under the 1991 Child Care Act. Senior counsel Owen Fitzsimon said there was nothing at all in that act that would allow the HSE, armed only with an interim care order from the district court, to take the place of a parent and to start making decisions about medical treatment, about passports and refusing consent for travel.
Was really a little girl. She was so young and hadn't a clue what was going on, and to be thrown into that area of a High Court is so scary for anyone of any age. It doesn't feel like it was me. It doesn't feel like it was me at all. I feel like I'm looking at my little self, like a little doll, and it's just crazy.
Once again, the abortion issue has brought pro-life and pro-choice groups onto the streets outside the courts.
It was like a game of tug-of-war between a load of grown-ups and I was a child standing in between. Nobody actually really, in my opinion, had my best interest at heart. It became a political fight and a religious battle between the whole country. And I was just an example used for a story.
I think this case can be decided without dealing with the issue of abortion?
She approached, she seemed more relaxed, she was alert.
Clearly the advice was you are going to be in deep trouble if you facilitate this person to go abroad, so you have to get
It's hard for her to have had to wait for this.
I was sick. I tried to make every day to the courts, but they were emotionally draining as well. And at this stage of my pregnancy, my baby was actually starting to fray inside my body, so which could have led to toxic poisoning. So things got a bit more serious anyway. Like, decisions were going to have to be made. I would walk up to the courts every morning, and on one side you would have hundreds of pro-lifers, and on the other side you had pro-choice. And at that age I didn't even know what pro-life or pro-choice was. I had to ask what is going on, who is for me, who's against me, and that was explained to me. And I would have to walk through, and there'd be news cameras everywhere, and every day I'd have to walk through. People would be screaming and shouting stuff at me. They would have big cards calling me a murderer. They had their children with them. We would take breaks during the court hearings, and that's when people would like to approach me, when I'm on my own. I remember being approached by an old man. It was very scary. And he started chanting over me with a cross and praying for me. And we told him to go away. And he started calling me evil and screaming, chanting things to me. It was very intimidating. It was like a different language. Oh, I don't know, from the Bible. He had a book and a testament, and he just kept praying over me and shouting at me the whole time until he was removed. Halfway through the court case, I was second guessing, what am I after doing? Because the more I was looking up videos, I was like, I might be able to carry her. I might do this, but I liked to torture myself. So I was getting a bit confused. So I started to feel bad that I was after bringing up this whole court case, and I was starting to change my mind. But that was through Google and all the abortion videos. I watched physical abortions happening.
I don't know who that is. My mother saw that photo and she cried actually. The depression, the lack of self-care for myself is very sad. I don't remember this girl. I've grown so much since that age. When I look at this as a grown woman, she was only a little girl, just gone 17. And there I stand with a big bump on my tummy after spending days upon days in courts with people protesting over me and calling me a murderer. I just don't know. I have loads of newspaper clippings and stories that were sold of me, provided by so-called friends when I was younger, when I wouldn't provide stories. Newspapers would threaten me that they would get their own stories, to which happened. There was photos provided of me, which was very hurtful back then, of me holding a bottle of Smirnoff Ice in my hand, put in the paper, which made it insinuate that I was drinking and smoking through my pregnancy. So for the big deal that it was, I have found the actual photos, I'll cover their faces, and they are dated 11th of September 06, which I most definitely couldn't have been pregnant. If I wouldn't give newspapers a story, they created their own, or they sourced them from unreliable, distant friends.
While the court case was going on, it was suggested to me by social workers that if I said I was suicidal, ultimately I would win. I was taken to one psychiatric hospital. It wasn't a nice experience being in that hospital at all. They were like something off a movie. There was long corridors, there were people 4 times my age, goofed on tablets, sitting on benches. They're the things that scar you after these things happen, more than the court case and the courtroom itself. It's the things you have to go through in the background.
She was actually happy when she heard about her pregnancy, but now she says she feels guilty because she didn't take folic acid. She has also said to the psychiatrist that it is her body and that she should be allowed to do whatever she wants with her own body, and she has also described herself as a strong person who's coped with a lot of difficulties in life.
I don't lie. I don't want to lie. If I don't get somewhere telling the truth, you're not meant to get there. I was not suicidal. I wasn't going to be portrayed that way, and I wanted to fight. What I believe is what's meant to happen will happen. And if I didn't win that case, then I was meant to carry her. The social worker would make sure he was in the room, unless told not to by whoever was evaluating. He would try and just, nudge me on that I wasn't coping and I was suicidal and I needed a break. When I came out of a psychiatric assessment one day, he thought I was brilliant and very headstrong, and he whispered into my ear that maybe I should just stay here for a little while anyways and take a bit of medication and relax. And I knew at that moment there was something going on that if I'd have stayed there, possibly would have ruined the whole case. My mum actually thought that I was the one who had said them things to news reporters. It destroyed our relationship. And there was some things that were true and hurtful enough for people to know, and there was a lot of things that were exaggerated, and it really strained our relationship, and it made it go from not good to vile between us. She thought I was talking about her to the news.
I was devastated. Outside of not being able to communicate with Amy, and I was there for her, but I wasn't with her all the time, and I should have been with her all the time. I was her mother. But what was portrayed about me in the papers...
My mum was made out to be a raging alcoholic and that I grew up in a foster home. And I've never gotten to turn around and have my word and say it. It's been in papers, short and brief. I didn't grow up in a foster care home. I grew up in a lovely, healthy childhood. I had a period of madness after moving to Drogheda where I became a teenager and my mum was suffering, where at that time I got pregnant and it happened to become a news headline. Other than that, I probably spent about 2 months in the care of the HSE and no more.
Everything they said was like, nobody asked me. Not one person asked me what really happened.
It really just cemented the relationship to a bad place.
The High Court will decide this afternoon on whether or not a 17-year-old girl in the care of the Health Service Executive can travel abroad for an abortion.
But at the very heart is a distressing case, a 17-year-old girl.
I'd started to suffer with the baby was starting to fray inside my body. I was very ill, so I wasn't well enough to be there at that time, and I just remember getting a phone call.
The social worker had contacted Gardaí and asked Gardaí to prevent her from travelling, and did so without foundation in fact or in law. He said that the HSE tried to shoehorn this case into an X-case type situation when there was no evidence that the girl was suicidal. And he praised her courage and dignity and maturity and integrity. He said she could have perjured herself by saying she was suicidal, but she didn't.
My mum would have rang me, my solicitor would have rang me. To them it was a phone call saying, basically, right, you've won. You need to get planning and get going, get your passports and stuff like that. But for me, I got a serious depression that I'd won. Once I got told I'd won, the fear came on, because that was when it was really happening. I had to deal with the emotional side of it then. I had to really listen to what I had to do with my heart and my head. And it was a big pressure because no one else could do that for me. I had a choice now, and I didn't know what to do.
The High Court has ruled there's nothing to prevent a 17-year-old girl in the care of the HSE from travelling to the UK for an abortion. The girl, known as Miss D, is 4 months pregnant with a child who cannot survive after birth.
I am very proud of myself, because if I was given the option now, I'd just, right, okay, I'm suicidal, let's get this over with. Back then I was very stubborn. But to be commended by a High Court judge for how brave and honest I was, I always hold that in my heart, and it does. I have a bit of pride, and I am so proud of how I held myself back then. I don't know how I did. I wasn't delighted I had to leave the country. I was just delighted I'd made a decision. It was almost the next day when we went to England. We all got passports issued straight away, which was very surreal as well, because we were all brought into the passport office and treated very special, given our green little emergency passports. I was after being all over the media, and when I walked into the airport and I was handed my ticket to go to England with a big bump that I was after growing very big, I was embarrassed that everyone knew what I was doing. I felt like I was like, here I am, going to have an abortion, everyone knew my business. You know, it might have been a few days in court, but there was a lot of growth going on in my stomach. I was feeling flutters. She didn't become a pregnancy, she became my baby. And I didn't want her forced out of my body. What I had wanted was her to take a breath when she was born. So in my little head, the best option for me was to get induced and give her the best send-off that I could. She had a blanket on her face. I didn't get to see what lay underneath. But I felt her fingers and toes, and all I saw was beauty. If I was in Ireland, I'd have had as much time as I needed. But I was on pressure against the clock to get a flight home to Ireland, and I had to leave her in the hospital on her own, which was absolutely devastating. I wanted to hold her too, which I didn't get to because I wasn't given enough time to pick her up and hold her. And I'm very jealous of the priest that held her to bless her. They all held my child, and I never got to hold her, and that's something I really wanted to do. I should have been given another few days in there, not even like a few hours, like I was given, to get my head around the whole situation. I could barely walk leaving the hospital. This is the print of my daughter Jasmine's foot, the exact size that was taken from a print over in the hospital of her feet on ink, which gives you a visual image of the size of what she was and how real she was, her pretty little tiny toes.
I hold forever her actual footprint in detail to what it was actually like, which is the most perfect little toes she did have. I have her blessing cert, which because she didn't take a breath, I didn't get a birth cert, so the priest came and we did this together before I left the hospital in the hurry that I was in. This is Jasmine's hat. She was very small, and that would even have been a little bit loose on her as well. But as small as she was, she had her fingernails, her toenails, everything, but that was on her head. This was a dress we put on her. It was knitted by ladies in the hospital. This is the hospital band you get in hospital, but instead of that being on my baby's wrist, that was Jasmine's tummy. That will show you how small she was. It was wrapped around her tummy. So that's very special. I have condolences books and letters, and the hospital who gave me this box, I couldn't have done it without that hospital. And in saying that as well, I wish I'd have had that support in Ireland. And I would have loved to keep in touch with them nurses. They put a stamp on my heart and helped me feel so strong and okay. I got nothing but support over there. I wish I could have had that over here. When I'm feeling a bit low or a bit lost in myself, sometimes I take this down from over my bed. I always keep it close to me, and I'll just sit here and look through her stuff. And it sounds weird, but I'll sit and smell the clothes and try and remember back to that time of what I went through and have my moment with Jasmine, because it's all I have. And anytime I'm hurt, this comes down. In my belief, she is my guardian angel watching over me. And I go as far as to, I've gone to the graveyard in the middle of the night to sit with her, and I feel comforted when I'm sitting there. I sit with her and give her a moment of my time.
I don't approve of an abortion just because you don't want a baby. If there's really a reason why you can't have the baby's really ill or you're really ill, I think that they should introduce something that you can have your baby over here, and that they'll help you and they'll be there for you and not make you feel like you're a murderer. It's a horrible feeling that you have to leave the country and organise for your baby's coffin to be brought back, or leave your baby behind. I think you have to have a baby and be ill to actually really understand what it's like. And I think it would be a lot more helpful if they'd help out over in Ireland instead of making us travel.